Sup? Feel free to play me at 1.25 or 1.5 speed. I am working on speaking more slowly and more intentionally with more groundedness in my body because I can speak really fast, and I'm working on slowing it down just to challenge myself to become more embodied. So I understand if you need to speed it up to receive this message. I have, for almost 2 years now, it'll be 2 years in June, will have known and been trying to implement the knowledge and wisdom of being a projector in the human design system. I wanted to speak a little bit about what it's been like for me. Hello, bug. I wanted to speak a little bit about what it's been like for me the last 2 years of knowing this, deconditioning, reprogramming, trying to align to my strategy, my authority, learning to honor my profile lines, my type of eating recommendations, all the things, because when I learn to find a system that I really resonate with, I want to learn everything about it. So for me, sorry, this bug is like just all over. So for me, found this cool feather while I was out here. For me, it's really been about first, understanding that I was a projector, and I'm a 2/4 splenic projector, for those of you who are asking. When I first discovered that I was a projector and just immediately started reading about what it was like to be a projector, the things you'll experience, the things you'll struggle with, I felt completely and immediately validated. I felt a huge sense of relief, a huge sense of sadness, a huge sense of frustration, gratitude. I felt a lot of emotions about it because it was telling me a lot in a very quick amount of time. It was like getting a huge synopsis of why everything in my life before this knowledge was so difficult, why I was struggling with it so much, and that it wasn't my fault, that there was nothing wrong with me, that in a lot of ways the things that I thought that I was doing naturally, that I changed, I should have just let stay that way. And instead I was allowing myself to be deeply programmed and conditioned, and I definitely was. For most of the time that I spent here on Earth before knowing I was a projector, I was definitely work oriented, like results driven, energy driven, push, do. And the second that I saw on the projector profile that the importance of resting, the importance of your energy system, the importance of like not trying to overwork all the time, it almost felt like that was the only way I was ever going to give my body permission to rest. That was the first time I ever felt like, oh, I finally have permission to rest. That's crazy to me. And if you're a projector, you probably felt this as well. Like the second you read, it's good for you not to work all day long. 4-hour spurts is probably best for you. And, regulating your system and honoring your, lymphatics and your endocrine system and all this, like, I'm sure you felt, wow, now I don't feel lazy. Now I don't feel like something's wrong. Now I can actually rest. And I tried for about the first 6 months of doing the human design method of life. It was really more me focusing on every time I was getting an invitation, or like what an invitation felt like, noticing that I was offering up advice and guidance without being invited and why it didn't feel good. Noticing, like, it was really helpful to notice, like, I can see immediately when I look at something how it needs to be done. I think I have the channel of like judgment, but it's meant to help bring joy, because you're able to judge how something should be done so that it's easier for someone to do, so that they can enjoy it more. And that is really me. So for me, it was like, I would see something, know how it could be changed and needed to be fixed in order to bring more joy, but when I would present that to the person, it just seemed like I was trying to tell them what to do, and so obviously it wasn't received, and I wasn't invited to give that information. And I could feel that like I can't even explain the feeling of how it feels to have someone not receive the guidance you try to give them. But it didn't feel good, and it felt, like, what am I doing here? Why am I even here? What's my purpose? So I was definitely learning that for like the first 6 months, and learning how to like shut my mouth and to just stop trying to tell people what to do all the time or suggest things all the time. Even if I saw someone struggling with something and I knew how I could step in to make it better, I was learning to like stop. I was trying to learn how to stop just fixing everything all the time in my external environment and letting people do it, especially because what I also learned and realized was that most of the people in my immediate environment did not see me. And that was something I really learned from another woman speaking on being a projector that I really loved. And she basically explained it like, I'm at a certain frequency and wavelength, and someone else who I have special wisdom for will be on that same frequency and wavelength. They will see me, recognize me, will be like, hey, like, that soul tribe kind of vibe. And I will feel that openness and that invitation from them. Even if they don't say, hey, I invite you to tell me this, I will feel the openness, and we will both recognize one another, and I can just give them everything like their spirit guide wants them to know, that maybe they can't get through to them, and I can be that bridge. I was learning that most of the people in my immediate environment did not resonate on my frequency and wavelength. They did not see me, even though I saw them. That lets me know already that I'm not their guide. I'm not the guide for them. I was trying to guide people that I was not here to guide, and I was around people who couldn't see me, who couldn't hear me, who didn't understand me, and that's why I wasn't working, and that's why I was feeling depleted, and why I was feeling bitter and overworked and exhausted. So then I took it upon myself to write down a list of like people. I was like, does this person see me? Do they hear me? Do we resonate? And like really going through the people in my environment, trying to figure out if I was even there to guide any of those people, and if not, then I'm not in the right environment. So then I spent a lot of time changing my environment, shifting things around, just like experimenting, because human design is an experiment, which is something I really like about the word that they use. Because life is an experiment. We're really trying things out. And I apologize for the camera moving if you can see that. So for me, I started tweaking, changing things here and there, speaking less, watching more, taking less responsibility for other people's things, which also led to a difference in how people came to interact with me. And one of the things that I learned, they said, is you can learn if someone really sees you and hears you and wants to be around you, not just because you plug into them and pay attention to them, is if when you're asking questions that require yes or no, or for that person to elaborate, that person doesn't get annoyed. They don't get like, why are you asking me this? Why do you want to know this? Because those people don't really want to interact with you. They just want your attention and your energy. So I started doing that. I learned a lot from doing that. Like, oh, this person doesn't really like care about me and like the interaction. It's because I can penetrate and envelop their aura, and they feel seen, and they just want someone to see them, but they don't want to grow. They don't want to learn. They don't want to change. They don't want to evolve. So a lot of that was happening. And so I found out I was a projector on my 29th birthday, 29, 30, yeah, 29 of 22, and I turned 30 and 23, and I'll turn 31 in June of this year. So it hasn't been 7 years. He said it takes 7 years to fully decondition, and I will say I'm grateful that maybe the way that my life is set up, it makes it a little faster to do, simply because I, for the last like 6 months, have been just staying at my mom's house. I've been watching her dog during the day. I've been helping with chores around the house. I've been doing like menial tasks, trying to just rest. The thing that sucks is that I came here really thinking I was going to spend a lot of time resting and regulating, and then that conditioning of like, I need to do something. I feel worthless, useless if I'm not doing something, really came up really strongly here. So I'm still working through that, about learning how to like sit and just be still and find those 4 hours of like what I want to do. And I did spend a lot of time writing how I was feeling. If you want to check out some of the ebooks I've written, they're on my Etsy store, on my link tree. It's in the description box. But I spent a lot of time writing and trying to find a new way to offer guidance that was invited from people who do recognize me and see me, where the invitation is them going to check out the book and receiving guidance that way, and like reaching different people, because the people in my environment there was no reaching them because I'm not their guides. So that's something I really learned too. And then specifically as a splenic authority, excuse me bugs, as a splenic authority, specifically being a splenic projector is about listening to your intuition, your instinct. Intuition, because I keep saying this now that I've learned it, means inner tuition, which means inner teaching. So based on my inner teachings, what is this experience telling me? If someone's asking me, hey, do you want to go work? And I'm bringing this up because I'm currently looking for a place to work. Hey, do you want to go work at this building in this lighting with these people doing this specific thing? And my inner tuition, what would my inner teaching tell me? My inner teaching would say that every time I'm in an environment like that, I wind up being a therapist. I wind up feeling drained at the end of the day. I get too sensitive to the overexposed lighting. There's too much noise and stimulation. It's too much for my energy system. That's what my energetic system, my spleen, my inner tuition, my instinct would tell me. Be like, no. I also like to imagine as a splenic projector that your spleen is like, imagine you are a cat. Imagine you're out here on earth and you're a cat and someone offers you something. Imagine, would you like purr and would you like nudge at that like, ooh yeah, I like that? Or would you be like, no, I don't want that? Cats are very clear and instinctual and specific about if they want to purr and rub on something or if they hiss and don't like it. That's something I've really taken on as well, is trying to envision myself as a cat. And I used to wear cat ears for 4 or 5 years every day, so I kind of already was doing some of that, but not consciously. So a lot of what I've been doing recently is learning how to honor my inner teachings and beat the programming of like, it doesn't matter what your instinct says, you should be doing this, produce results, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, work, 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 work. It's really hard to fight that when everything around you is telling you to do that. I'll say that much. But splenically, I've had to really honor this. I have never been so fatigued in my life. I wake up most mornings it takes me like 30 minutes for my body to feel like it's even rested. I don't know what's happening when I'm sleeping, if I'm getting curb stomped, but I've implemented a lymphatic massage in the mornings and like moving my lymph system, like honoring that the lymphs are connected to the spleen and the endocrine system. And like I was having issues with my tonsils, which are connected to the lymph, which is connected to the spleen. So our bodies talk. And my body was telling me, you are not honoring your design. You're not. And the only way you're going to listen to us telling you you're not is to show you in your body. My throat was telling me, my fatigue was telling me, like so many things were telling me, my chronic fatigue, chronic stress, anxiety. So I've been learning to regulate my physical body. And that's something I've really enjoyed about human design as well, is that none of the human design types, none of the authority is ever in your mind. Every authority exists within the body, which I really appreciate, because it's hard for me sometimes to be in my body and want to be down here on earth and feeling overwhelmed, that I just go into my mental space, the mental matrix, and try and live there. And I can feel when I go up here, and I have to bring my awareness back down into me, into my physical form that I was meant to have down here, and I connect it to Gaia, and I really focus on grounding down into Gaia. And I don't do it as often as I should, and I kind of hear Gaia speaking to me right now. She's like, oh really? You really connect to me? I've been calling to her more. Grounding to Gaia has been really important. Being outside in nature is really important. That's why I think I was also really struggling over the winter, is because my mother lives somewhere where it gets cold in the winter. So I had to be inside, and then she likes it cold. And so then I just go into a ball, and I'm not connected. It's not for me. So I definitely know I need to live somewhere where I can be outside every day. And it feels so good to be connected to the actual organic matter of this existence, instead of being inside of walls and wires and whatnot. Let's see, how am I doing on time? Okay, I'll give myself 5 more minutes. What else have I learned about being a human design projector in the last 2 years? I've really learned that invitations, I know everyone always makes videos about what it feels like waiting for the invitation, how you'll know when you're being invited. And a lot of my struggle is that I think sometimes too, as maybe specifically a 2-4 profile, I know I'm a hermit. I know I like to go within, but the 4 is like calling me out to interact and be around people. This is where I went into looking at the type of marketplace or the type of like environment that I meant to be in, and mine was about markets. I was meant to be in markets. Mine said, like, because there's a left pointing arrow and a right pointing arrow, it'll explain to you if you're like in the introverted marketplace or the extroverted marketplace. And mine said introverted marketplace, which would be a marketplace online, where you go and you market things in a place where people can come and see those things, but you don't have to give so much of your energy. So like I'm giving my energy now, but it's not like thousands of people are sitting here and I'm like sharing it and plugging into so many people, which a projector isn't meant to do to begin with. And I do like farmers markets. I like going to markets and interacting with people, so that was interesting that it said more internal. But my husband is a manifesting generator. I think his was external markets, but it may have I know his was also markets. That has really been helpful because it's helping me to like find my place when I feel like my environment, like who's gonna invite me? I live with my mom and my sister. I don't have a car. I'm working on our van right now, but it's not past inspection yet. Like I don't interact with anyone else, and then my mom's dog. That's it. That's all that happens throughout my day. So my marketplace is online. The people who could invite me are online. That's like the only thing that's really happening in my tangible right now. But I also do know I love spending time in nature. It's like learning, taking all the things that human design gives you and then finding how it works in your life for where you're at right now. For me, I always was confused about like, well, what if I feel called to live somewhere? Because Ra Uru, who spoke about projectors, the things that you're supposed to make sure you really get invited to is where you live, where you work, and who you love. And I was like, oh Jesus. So for me, it was like, well, how do I know if I'm being invited to live somewhere? Excuse me. For me, it's been like I see the area code a lot of the place I want to live. I see like the name of the place I want to live. Those are invitations from spirit, like confirmations. No one from that place I want to live is going to call me and be like, hey, you should come live here. You have to understand the nuance of that, and projectors can understand the nuance of like, oh, that's my little hello. And then someone in a comment thread said, you know, when a job application is posted, that is an invitation. They are seeking work from someone, and you can answer that call, and then you go to the interview, then you listen to your authority to decide if it was right or not. And that's what I've been trying to do as I've been recently applying for places, is like, yes, I am a good worker, yes, I'm organized, yes, I'm all these things, but like, what is my inner tuition telling me? And that's the thing that's so hard about it, is honoring that. Because I like went to an interview, they offered me even more pay in a different position than I applied for, and then my inner tuition is telling me like, no. And to everyone outside of you, that's gonna make no sense. And which is why I think it's also me being a 2-4 would be more beneficial for me to be living alone, so that I don't feel like I have to answer to anyone else outside of me about why I move the way I move. That's another thing, and I'm almost going to close it out here because I didn't want to go really past 20 minutes. Also, as far as looking for the invitation for loving, like I said, where to live, where to work, for loving, the invitation to love, that one has been a lot easier for me now in retrospect, because I looked back at all my previous relationships. My first boyfriend, I pursued him. I asked him out. I was like, so like, oh, I like this guy. I want it. I'm going to get it. I got it. But did he see me? Did he want me? Did he recognize me? No, I made him notice me. I made him understand my value, because I was like, no, I'm valuable. You just don't know it. You don't see it. You're clear. You're missing out, which he was, but also he didn't see me. Then the next partner, I pursued him. I was interested in him. I wanted to be with him. He wasn't pursuing me. He wasn't interested in me. He wasn't reaching out for me. He just liked the attention. The projector plugging in. And he was also a projector. He was a mental projector. So he really appreciated someone seeing him. And then the next person, I didn't really pursue him too much. More my friends were pushing me to pursue him. And like, it was just like, oh, you should do like, that didn't really make any sense. And I wouldn't really call it a relationship. It was more of like a karmic, like it was like a karmic balancing relationship. Like I needed to be in that relationship to balance some of the less integrity based things I did in my previous relationships. And then my husband now, I didn't approach him. I didn't go to him. I wasn't trying to pursue him. He tried to pursue me. And that was like the first time I experienced that, which is probably why I like ran away from it for a while, was because I was like, oh no, what is this? He saw me, he recognized me, we started speaking at work, we got to know each other, we were interested. I was interested too, but he was definitely the one pursuing me. You'll know, and I just want to throw this in because I feel like it's important, especially as a projector, especially because Ra Uru, who talked about how projectors will commit themselves to 7 years of something before they realize it's not for them, and I really don't want people to be out here with someone for 7 years struggling with that. So for me, it's been really important to go back and look and like, did I invite myself into that relationship, or was I invited? And I've been invited into the relationship with my husband. And although we're not currently living together, it's been really beneficial to understand even the interplay between him recognizing me to guide him, especially because he's a manifesting generator. This is just a small portion of the things that I've learned. If you want to talk about this more, I have plenty more things that I've been implementing and integrating so that I can be a successful projector, because I want to be successful, and I'm sure you want to be successful as well. If you'd like to speak on this more with me, then we can definitely go further into that. Just let me know by like liking the video or leaving a comment, because I wasn't really going to go too more in depth with my projector updates, except for like, hey, this has been 3 years, this has been 4 years. But I know being here on Earth as a projector is a very unique experience, and I gather so much wisdom and like tips and tricks for my own life by listening to other projectors talk on the internet. So thank you for receiving this. I'm wishing you all of the invitations that align for you as a projector. I'm wishing that your strategy and your authority are becoming more and more ingrained and natural to you than the programming that you were living with. I pray that you're understanding more about your profile and working with it and noticing it and finding that marketplace or finding that environment that's right for you, learning more about you, honoring you so that you can live according to yourself and not your not self. That's what we're all here to be, is ourselves. And so human design has really been helping me to do that, even more than just astrology. Astrology helps me understand myself, but human design helps me to like embody. Yeah, astrology helps me to learn like, oh, I do this, I do that. Human design helps me learn to embody that and move through the world in that knowing. I think that's the best way for me to explain that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for receiving. Leave a comment below if you feel called to. I like reading the comments and interacting in that way. I always kind of say that because sometimes I feel like people are like, I don't know if you really want me to say anything, but I definitely want to find other projectors, especially 2/4 splenic projectors. We can share our own tips and tricks and experiences and continue to grow and become more of who we are here to be in a rested, regulated way. Amen. Okay, thank you for listening and receiving. Until next time, sending you peace, sending you love.